James Brown surveyed his domain. Steel bones of a skyscraper, his creation, 30 stories high, a monument to his ambition. Sweat beaded on his brow, the August sun relentless. He wiped it away, a satisfied smile playing on his lips. The air, thick with the smell of concrete and steel, was his perfume. The cacophony of construction, his symphony. Life was good. A sudden gust of wind ruffled his hair. The sky, a moment ago a brilliant blue, was now overcast with ominous grey clouds. A shiver ran down his spine, unexplained unease. He shook it off. Superstition had no place in his world. He had built his empire on sweat, blood, and concrete, not on omens. Miles away, a black SUV rolled to a stop. 4 men emerged, their faces hidden behind mirrored sunglasses, their movements precise, practiced. These were not construction workers. They were predators. The leader, a man with eyes as cold as steel, checked his watch.
5 minutes, get into position.
They melted into the shadows, silent and deadly. The wind picked up, howling through the city streets, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. The clouds had completely swallowed the sun, plunging the city into an eerie twilight. Laughter echoed through the spacious living room. James's wife, Sarah, was reading a story to their 2 children, 8-year-old Emily and 6-year-old Ben. The scent of freshly baked cookies wafted from the kitchen, a picture of perfect domesticity. The doorbell rang, a jarring note in the tranquil atmosphere. Sarah frowned, a flicker of unease in her eyes.
Who could that be at this hour?
Before she could reach the door, it burst open. The intruders stormed in, their faces grim, their weapons drawn. Terror filled Sarah's eyes, a silent scream dying in her throat. James's phone rang, shattering the symphony of construction. It was Sarah's number, but the voice on the other end was cold, menacing.
Your family is gone, Mr. Brown. Consider it a message.
The line went dead. A surge of adrenaline shot through him. He raced towards the edge of the building, his mind a chaotic whirlwind of fear and disbelief. Below, the city stretched like a concrete jungle, its indifference palpable. He saw them then, the shadows, emerging from his building, their mission accomplished. Rage, raw and primal, consumed him. He lunged at them, a man possessed. A shot rang out. He felt a searing pain in his shoulder, then nothing as he plunged into the abyss. One of his men walked over, his face impassive, and checked for a pulse. S4. The leader of the mercenaries stared at the crumpled figure on the ground, a mixture of blood and dust staining the concrete. "Confirm the kill," he ordered.
"Good, let's go." Narrator, the leader nodded curtly. S4. "He's gone," the man confirmed.
They melted back into the shadows, leaving behind the stench of gunpowder and death. News of James Brown's accidental death spread like wildfire. The authorities ruled it a suicide, a desperate act of a man facing financial ruin. Their rivals breathed a sigh of relief. Their plan had worked, but they had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated James Brown. Pain. It was the first thing that registered. A dull, throbbing ache that pulsed through his body, each beat a reminder of his fragile state. He opened his eyes, his vision blurry and unfocused. Where was he? The sterile smell of antiseptic filled his nostrils. Memories, fragmented and disjointed, flooded his mind, each one more confusing than the last. The construction site, the phone call, the fall. He was alive. But how? The images played in his mind like a broken film reel, each frame more haunting than the one before. He tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness forced him back down. He was in a hospital bed, his body a network of tubes and wires, each one a lifeline, tethering him to this world. He remembered the searing pain in his shoulder, the feeling of falling. He had survived, but at what cost? His family, Sarah, Emily, Ben. Their faces flashed before his eyes. The memory of the phone call slammed into him with brutal force. "Your family is gone." The words echoed in his mind, each syllable a dagger to his heart. A choked sob escaped his lips. His family, his everything were gone, and he was alive. Why? The question gnawed at him, a relentless torment. He stared at the ceiling, tears streaming down his face, searching for answers in the void. He healed, physically at least. The scars on his body were a testament to his ordeal, but they were nothing compared to the scars on his heart. The doctors marveled at his recovery, calling it a miracle. They couldn't understand how he had survived such trauma. But the wounds ran deeper, carved into his soul, leaving marks that no medical expertise could mend. The world saw a grieving widower, a broken man. They offered their condolences, their pity, but none could fathom the depth of his sorrow. They were right, he was broken. But he was also changing. The pain was transforming him, reshaping his very essence. He left the hospital a shell of his former self. The vibrant man who once commanded respect and admiration was now a ghost, drifting through life. The construction empire he had built with his bare hands held no allure. The projects that once ignited his passion now seemed meaningless, mere shadows of a life that was no more. It was a constant reminder of what he had lost. Every brick, every beam, echoed with memories of a happier time, now forever out of reach. He withdrew from the world, seeking solace in the shadows, his only companions pain and rage. The darkness became his refuge, a place where he could hide from the relentless ache. One night he found himself in a seedy bar on the wrong side of town. The dim lights and murky atmosphere mirrored his inner turmoil. A man approached him, his eyes gleaming with a strange light. There was something unsettling about his presence, something that promised both danger and escape.
"You look like a man who needs a purpose," the man said, his voice a low rasp. He offered James a way to numb the pain, to forget. He offered him oblivion. The temptation was too great to resist.
James accepted. In that moment he chose to embrace the darkness, hoping it would swallow his pain. The drug was a serpent, its venom seeping into his veins, dulling the pain but also poisoning his soul. Each injection was a dance with death, a gamble with his very existence. He became a ghost, drifting through the underbelly of the city, a world he never knew existed. The shadows became his home, the darkness his only friend. He learned the language of the streets, the rules of the game. He learned to survive. Every encounter was a lesson, every deal a step deeper into the abyss. He started small, a pawn in someone else's game, a mere cog in the vast machinery of the underworld, but he was a fast learner, ruthless and efficient. His ambition knew no bounds, and his determination was unyielding. He rose through the ranks, his past life a distant memory. The streets whispered of his rise, a tale of transformation and power. He was no longer James Brown, the builder, the husband, the father. He was Fent Dealer, a name that struck fear and commanded respect. They whispered his name in hushed tones, a mixture of fear and respect. His presence was felt even in his absence. He was a phantom, a whisper in the wind, an enigma that haunted the darkest corners of the city. But beneath the cold exterior, a fire burned, the fire of vengeance, a relentless drive that fueled his every move. He had embraced the darkness, but he had not forgotten. He was coming. His past was a shadow that loomed over his every step, and when he found them, the ones who had taken everything from him, he would show them no mercy. His retribution would be swift and unforgiving. The serpent had a new purpose now. It was no longer just about survival, it was about reclaiming what was lost. It was time to strike. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and he was ready to face it head on.